Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. This is a really special kind of in-depth look at Kingdom Death Monster and its cards. So this is going to run into, it's not going to run into necessarily spoiler territory, although you're going to see a bunch of cards pretty fast. I'm going to basically unpack all the cards and just quickly kind of cycle through them so you can get a good idea as to the art style, the comments on the cards, the types of items, that type of thing. I'm not going to be really sitting and focusing on any one card though, because I don't want to spoil anything in the game, but I'm going to give you an idea of the number of cards and all the stuff really that I never got to unbox in the first video because of how much time it took me just to get into the main box. So a disclaimer right up front, first off, again, it's a mature horror game, so if there's anything about this that you don't want to see, then run away now. But if you do want to see more and see what this is all about, and you don't mind spoilers in terms of art as well as maybe seeing something on the screen, then go ahead and enjoy. But I want to give you that heads up right away that you may or may not see things that you do or do not want to see. So all right, let's just get into it. I want to crack these things open for myself because I want to see really what is in here. Again, I don't want to spoil much for myself, so again, I'm just going to be rifling through it, and because I'm new to the game, it's not going to mean anything to me anyway. But at least we can get ideas to different types of decks, different types of card piles, all that kind of stuff for those of you that are not familiar with the game at all. So let's start out with the, I guess we'll start with one of the item decks. That just makes sense. So we've got here, we saw this in the main unboxing, this is the Almanac. So this one here is an item, it's soluble, flammable. Nice art. I showed you this in the other video, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this open. This is going to be our very first pack of cards to crack. And I do have sleeves that are supposed to be coming soon to be able to sleeve this entire game, but apparently they've been delayed, and I'm not so happy with that. But it is what it is, so going forward, I'm going to have to keep them inside of a really, really protective box until I get them sleeved because, well, I'm like that. With most games that are expensive, I want to ensure that they remain in top quality, and I think a lot of us are like that. So, man, there's a lot of cards in this. So, like, these decks, they don't look that thick, but man, when you put them in your hands for a second, you realize how much content's in this thing. This is crazy. Okay, so I'm going to try my best here. I'm going to have to cut the deck in half. And again, I'm ripping through this. I'm not showing you every single card. So here we go. We've got the Almanac here. We've got a couple of them actually. And in terms of the thickness of the cards and things like that, there's actually, I've heard there's a few of each card in here. So they've got some Brain Mint, Elder, First Aid Kits. I know you can build those. Scavenger Kits, Bug Traps. Some of these things I've seen actually on some of the settlement cards that you can actually craft and create, which is pretty cool. Got Musk Bombs. You've got, sorry about that, I'm like off camera a little bit here. Speed Powder. More speed powder, Lantern Greaves, that's pretty cool, Lantern Cross, Gauntlets, Lantern Helm, that one's pretty cool actually. Yeah, that's pretty interesting actually, I don't think I've seen, that's unique. Lantern Mail, Dragon Slayer, a whole bunch of cards. So again, if you want to pause in any one card, that's fine too, but I'm trying not to literally show you absolutely everything. But I really like the art style of the items. They just really pop. They're clean looking, and big fan. If you want to stop on one of them, I'll show you. This is a regular item. Again, doesn't have any stats on it, but as you get further in, it gets into things like this where it actually has like a banner up here. I don't know what that means. It also has some interesting stuff down below. Obviously, it has some synergy abilities there with different colors. So again, I'm gonna have to go through the rules to figure out what that all means. But you can see here actually on the back of the cards, it actually lists where you can get them, I think. So this is gear. You can get these at the blacksmith, for instance. You can get this at the bonesmith. So for instance, you want a bone dagger. The bone dagger is made at the bonesmith. Makes sense. So that type of thing. So the other thing too is you're going to find a uniform back on all of the cards. So they're always going to look very, very similar, which is really cool because I like that look. Another half of a pile to go. Wasn't through all of it. So there's bone darts. These again are all the different things you're going to be able to create, make, and find. And I'm kind of skipping a few, by the way. There's some in here that are kind of hiding in the background. So bone earrings. You got screaming bracers. all kinds of stuff. And again, a lot of it's a result of what you're hunting. So you're hunting certain monsters, you're getting certain items, you're getting certain parts off of them, because you're essentially breaking the animal down into pieces, and you're using its pieces to essentially create and craft weapons and armor and all this kind of stuff. So it's really interesting because you can really actually see you're essentially starting off with very little clothing. You're basically running around with a loincloth on, essentially, or next to nothing. And then as you go along, the monsters you kill, you're actually using them to craft essentially what you're going to be wearing. And that's really where the mini building side of this thing really kind of gets crazy, is that you can actually start going into the sprues, finding the exact type of armor matches to the items you have and all that good stuff, and make your hero look exactly or very close to what your kit layout is like. And that's really cool. Not a lot of games provide that. Again, another big selling point for these guys is the fact that the majority, if not all, of the cards in this game can be found in a miniature form in the box, which is just crazy. Like when you think about the possibilities of you know, how you can actually build a miniature. So again, here's another massive thick pile of cards. I'm going to split this in half. We'll rip through these again, so you can see. So again, we've seen these before. We saw the raw headbands actually in the prior videos. Let's see here. We got the rawhide whip, feather shield. These are starting to stick together a little bit, so I'm skipping things in clumps. So hopefully that's okay. I'm going to try to see if I can actually get a little bit better of a view on this. So there we go. I don't know if I can get the, yeah, there we go, so focus to kind of come with me. But there's some that is hiding in behind the cards, so I do apologize for that. I got band-aids, you've got feather shields, phoenix stuff. So again, you're getting stuff off the phoenix. These are different parts, you know, things you can add. You can have full kits that basically are made off of enemies that you've killed. You know, you've got all these crazy, really odd things that I don't understand, and will only understand as I play through the game and build this thing. So many different items. Sonic tomahawks, sorry. Wow, just insanity. Like, the amount of stuff in this is just ridiculous. The amount of stuff you can craft in this is crazy. Okay, so that was the first half of that. There's another half left. So, and again, I didn't show you every single thing there. The whistling mace, you got the katana, finger of God, blood sheath, regal gauntlets. You're getting into some serious. Again, I'm missing 2 or 3 cards per every once in a while, guys. So I'm going quicker than there may actually be. But you can see, if you wanted to go through here and craft this and play this over and over and over again, there's some, now these things here, I can tell you right from the get-go that this is one of the very first items or weapons you'll be using in the entire game. So it's gonna be really cool when we start playing right at the beginning, because those are the essentially the ideas. You're going to pull a shard out of the stone faces that are found here on the showdown board and be using that as a major weapon. And that's really, really cool. That's about as much as I'm going to spoil for you, because that's really what everyone knows from the get-go at the start of this game. But that right there was just 2/3 of the items. There's another deck to go through, so we're going to go through this one next. Now, again, remember, when you go and pick up any expansions for this particular game, so that's going to be providing you with extra nemesis, extra enemies, essentially to fight. You know, there's different terminology for each of them, and I'm not familiar with all of them yet, so I do apologize to those of you that are experiencing the game. I'm not trying to sound as if I understand everything, but I am more than happy to be on the bandwagon with you guys, because this is a game I think I'm going to just fall in love with, being a big miniature fan myself, as well as a big fan of horror in general. So this is right up my alley. Okay, so just cracked into this deck of cards. Cautiously taking off the plastic off camera so I don't cut my finger or destroy a card in the process. Let's go through these cards now. So this is, oh, sorry guys, I just like battered the camera there. So there's the King Spears, we got lion headdresses, lion skin cloaks, frenzy drinks, that's what I want. That's what I like right now. Cat gut bows, cat fangs, cat eye. Yeah, so again, I really do apologize, because if I was like pushing really hard, I'd be going through these one at a time like I am right now. But sometimes every once in a while I'm getting like a clunk like that, where there's like 2 or 3 in there. So sometimes there's multiple of the item, which means multiple people can be wearing that particular item. So that's pretty cool. Just insanity. Like, the amount of stuff is just mind-boggling. Like, the inventory of this is going to be outrageous. like in terms of actually keeping track of what each character has and all this kind of stuff. It's gonna be craziness. Lanterns, daggers, so many different styles of, there's a survivor's lantern. So these are probably basic things that we're gonna see from the get-go when we first start our playthrough. Leather skirts, so again, it goes down similar paths where you can actually kind of create just leather everything or oxidized everything, or you know, whatever. So there's different types of things. Rawhide stuff you can see here at the end. Oh my goodness, so much stuff. Stone noses, that looks pleasant. Rawhide vests, drums. This is crazy. Okay, so that essentially is a quick spit through of the item cards without sitting on any one of them too long enough to spoil anything. So you can just see the number of things you can create. There is one stack. Here is the second stack. And here is the third stack. So there's quite a bit, and this is just the base game items to create. Ridiculous. Okay, so next up, what do we want to try to crack? I'm going to put these off to the side. These are like my pillars of items that I'm going to have to organize. Next up, let's do the bigger cards. So this is where my expertise is going to go down the toilet. It doesn't matter, because I haven't actually played the game myself, so I can't talk too much besides just looking at the actual cards themselves and the backs of the cards, because the backs of the cards give away exactly what they are. So that's going to be our biggest indicator as we go through this as to what I'm looking at. So you're going to have to bear with me. It does have such an amazing uniform look in these cards. I don't know if you can see this, but the cards all the way down has very much a Fantasy Flight type look in terms of, not look at the cards, but just when you have a stack of similar cards together, you can see the color across all of them. It's super nice. Here's the back of the first deck I've just cracked. It's called Disorders. So again, you can just focus everything by groups. So you've got like a huge pack of Disorders here. And then and of course you get right down to, I believe, maybe the AI cards is what I'm seeing next. So if we were to take a quick look at Disorders, there's all kinds of things. There's like, you know, anxiety, weak spot, binge eating, like just hyper, panics, honorable. There's so post-traumatic stress. There's all kinds of crazy different disorders that you can go through in this thing. It's just ridiculous. So we'll take those, put those to the side for a second. This right here could be the White Lion. I'm not sure what these are actually. These are... oh, these are the hunt cards. So these are going to go on the hunt track as you go through the game. That's why they got the H on it. So when you're hunting the White Lion, you're going to have all these cards to go through. I'm certainly not going to spoil a large majority of this. You got the Screaming Antelope, and then as you go down, you got the Phoenix. So again, as the hunt cards kind of look like this essentially. So there's some artwork on it, some text, tells you how to do it, how to roll, how you're checking certain tracks and charts and things like that. Here's an idea of essentially a large majority of the cards, so you can kind of see roughly what they look like. Then next up would be things like strange resources. So this is an interesting deck here. This one here is kind of a light green color, and it's actually literally, I think this is what happens when you break into or destroy one of the monsters. These are some of the things that can fall out of it, I think, or potentially these are things that you can just find. I don't know, but they're large, big size cards with art on them saying what you found essentially. That's pretty cool. So we'll put those back in the stack. This is a set of Screaming armor, White Lion armor, specializations, things like that. Cool stuff. There's interesting mastery stuff on the back of this, particular things. Again, I cannot speak to because I do not understand. R, what does R stand for? I'm going to guess that the R is standing for resources. This is probably going to be what comes out of the monsters as you are killing them off. So they've got like resources for the White Lion. It's got resources for the Screaming Antelope, the Phoenix, that kind of thing. And of course you flip them over you can see exactly. These are going to be all kinds of different pieces to the enemies, and they're not always going to be the same. So every time you kill it, you're not going to necessarily get the same resources. The idea being that every single time you kill the animal, you're getting different pieces, which will help you build different things, that kind of thing. Some more specializations, which I can't speak to, but essentially there's a whole bunch of them here. And then, ooh, really cool. I love the tone color of this stuff. It's amazing. So this is like a nice bright red for secret fighting arts. So these are arts, I believe, that we can actually, as a person, I believe we can gain these and record them and archive them in our settlement and things like that. So that's really cool. Wow. So that's essentially just one deck of the 3 back there. I don't even think I'm going to be able to get through all this in one video. So there may be a part 2 to this, because the way it's going right now, I think I'll need one more to get through the last pile. But so far, phenomenal stuff. Like, I don't even know where to be. I mean, I know where to begin with this, but man, it is exactly as advertised. It is a behemoth. So, cracking open the next pack of cards. Again, doing this with supreme paranoia. There's a disorder I can take right off the top. Don't want to bend, break, or do any of these cards. So here's another whole stack. We'll start, I don't know, we'll start with something. So essentially what's going to happen at some point here, we're going to get into, okay, so this is essentially getting to like hit locations. So essentially you have cards that when you make attacks on specific enemies, so here's the Gold Smoke Knight, which is one of the newest characters, so I'm not going to be showing that off. But essentially there are certain individuals in this deck. This is going to be a huge deck of basically hit location cards, and cards that basically tell you how a particular enemy is going to react when you hit them in a certain spot, I believe. So these are all labeled with HL, and there's a ton of them for every single monster in the game, and of course there's multiple per monster. So there's a ton here, and actually it literally comprises of the vast majority of this entire thing, and then it kind of stops. And the last little bit is a couple cards here that I'm not even familiar with. So these are more like, I have no idea what these are for. I'm going to have to look these up because they're separated off into their own thing, but they look like they involve not only the major monsters you're killing, but also some armor and things like that. These are probably guides potentially to how to build particular armor sets, would be my guess. I'm not too sure. So that's one whole other deck. So there's hit locations basically took up the large majority of that deck. That was quite outrageous. So that's that one. Next up is the Butcher. We might be able to actually get through the last 2 in this one. The last one is the, I think my guess is at some point here, one of these is going to be the AI cards. And these are going to be the cards that are going to tell us how the actual bosses and the showdowns actually act. And this is what's really cool with the game is, essentially the game is it has as specific AI cards. That's exactly what this actually is actually. So I'm looking at the back of it right now, and it has a big AI symbol on the back side of the card. So this one right here, you can see AI. So it's going to show you the monster, and in this case it's the Watcher, the same symbols on the front of the box. It is a huge deck of cards, and actually the entire thing is comprised of it. So again, this is spoiler territory because obviously I don't want to show you essentially how something necessarily works. There is one character that everyone is familiar with, and I think that's the safe one, if I can find it here. Screaming Antelope is fairly common. Just give me a second here. Attempting to find. Wow, there's a lot of cards here. There might be, oh, it might be 2 decks worth. Oh no, there we go. There's the White Line. This will be the very first one that we're going to fight. So the White Line is very well known, and there's no spoilers on this one. But essentially, we've got Combo Claw. So basically, this is going to be how the particular line will react. It'll pick a target, choose a threat facing in range, close start. This is going to show you how to pick it, how to move and attack it, how to deal with anything else that comes along with it. So it's a whole card to show you how the game actually goes, and it's really cool just having that AI deck that literally will change an enemy's attacks every single time you fight it. So it's like not going to be, I mean, yes, you can learn the cards if you play that particular White Line enough, but there's enough variability in the cards that you're pulling. You don't know when those cards are going to come, and they may not be at the most opportune time for you. And that's pretty much why the game is called Kingdom Death, because you can prepare to a certain extent, but there is an element of randomness and there is an element of chance in terms of these guys ripping you to shreds and leaving you for dead. So it's really fun that way. It sounds terrifying, but it is great from what I've seen anyway. So here we're going into the very last major pile of cards. So again, you can see why I want to sleeve these things. They're fantastic quality. They're really nice. The artwork is phenomenal on them. They just have beautiful backs. They're all so uniform that, like, again, and at the same time being very useful. You can actually, and when I say useful, I just mean like easy to categorize. You can lay them all out and easily decide, determine what's what. It'll be flipping them over and looking at the front side of the card that's going to scare me more than anything else. So right here we have first up, special hunt events. So these are going to be special things. So for instance, this one's just a random event. Just says to go ahead and probably roll. Yeah, you're just rolling on the hunt table. The hunt table inside the manual is going to tell you a random event to go through. But there's all kinds of actual events that probably are specific. So you'll find them in here. Then you're going to go into, this has got a mix of stuff. This one just has M on the front. I'm not too sure. It could be a mastery. I don't know 100%. They have numbers on them and people. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, like this one here has this individual. I'm trying to see if I can figure out what the purpose of these cards are. Life. Weird. Okay, so yeah, I don't really know how to describe this. It's just got a bunch of people on it and weird symbols and stuff, so I'm not too sure what those are. I'll have to figure that out on my own, I guess. It's a little strange. And then fighting arts. I am familiar with fighting arts to an extent. So essentially these are going to be, and when I say an extent, I mean a very small extent. But basically there's a whole bunch of fighting arts, again with the same backing, but nice symbolism in terms of what they are. And these are just going to be, allow you to essentially, oh, that might be not be true, that might be terrain I just turned over. Yeah, I did want it to terrain cards. So right about there, the fighting arts end. So fighting art, for example, would be like tough, for instance. You can learn tough. It's fighting art. When rolling on a severe injury table, unless you roll 1, add +1 to the result. This does not include brain trauma. The result total cannot exceed 10. Record and archive. So again, you can gain certain things that are going to allow you to essentially be a little bit stronger in combat and that type of thing. So it's all going to be to your benefit with those fighting arts for sure. Terrain is interesting because there's a whole bunch of terrain tokens in the game. This is also going to tie into, I think, maybe some of the specials that I have going on. I have a feature product video that's going to be dealing with terrain in the future here. If it's not already out, it will be out. But basically, this is going to talk about certain things that are laying around, like 2 Ancanthus plants that I can't pronounce. But essentially, I've got a really cool feature product video that's going to take these elements that are terrain cards and typically tokens in the box, and it's going to take them to the next level. So you're going to really think these are cool, and when you see them, you'll be impressed. And hopefully, if you're interested in them, you'll pick them up. The only other things remaining in the last deck here is, because we're running out of time, is Vermins. You got basic resources, which again are going to be large cards. And with art, you got innovations. So you got collective toil, for instance, is one of them. Some more innovations like Clan of Death, for instance. Can't speak to it too much. There's tons of them. And then some more AI cards for the Gold Smoke Knight. I'm not showing you any of those because that's super secret end game type stuff, or at least near the end of the game. So that is essentially all of the cards in Kingdom Death without me showing you literally everything. Of course, the only things we didn't open yet would be the dividers, which are pretty straightforward. They're really just symbolizing they just split up the cards. The only two things we didn't actually open yet would be the settlement cards and the settlement events, sorry. And these other ones, which I can't remember the name of. But basically, I'm not going to open these two to show you these two because these are really specific to the game itself in terms of you kind of want to explore these when you run into them, and to the ability to build some of these things and build them into your settlement will be cool, and I want to keep that kind of a secret. Whereas these item cards as general don't mean much when you see them from this distance, especially if you haven't played the game before. So it really is just a nice quick scan to show you the artwork, card style, icon style, everything else. So hopefully this was informative and you can kind of see a little bit more of the in-depth look at the cards. And I'm really looking forward to, in the very, very near future, I want to say, but probably quite a ways down the line, I got to build these miniatures, and then at that point we can start playing, go through the first mission and set up our settlement. All right, so I hope this helped you. If it did, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. I will see you in the next episode related to Kingdom Death, feature product video.